James Gunn, what the hell is going on at DC Studios? Hey guys, my name is DJ, and, well, I guess we're back to once again talk about the DCEU. After over a decade of disappointing movies, directorial disputes, controversial acting choices, and an overall lack of direction for this franchise, DC finally sat down and decided to get their house in order. After all these years of living in a madhouse, DC has finally decided to bring in someone to control the chaos. And to do that, they've decided to put one man at the top of their organization, their very own version of the MCU's Kevin Feige, James Gunn. Now, for those unfamiliar with the name, James Gunn is actually a successful writer and director that has worked on some of the biggest and, in my opinion, most entertaining superhero movies to date, such as the Guardian of the Galaxy movies. So DC has decided to take someone with such a successful background in the superhero genre and put them on top of their studio, which, in my opinion, is a great idea. But following that change comes, well, a whole laundry list of other changes to be made now that James Gunn is leading the DC universe into the future. Now, to peel back the curtain a little bit, I have already kind of filmed this video already. But if you follow me on Twitter, then you will know that some recent developments from DC have essentially made the previous version of this video completely worthless. You see, Henry Cavill, the man who played Superman for nearly a decade now, has announced that he will not be playing the Man of Steel anymore following a meeting with James Gunn. After fighting for so long with both DC executives and this character that he clearly really cares about, Henry Cavill is now gone. And while I personally have never really been a big fan of Cavill's Superman, I can't help but feel bad for the guy. Obviously, it's a sad situation when anyone loses their job due to circumstances outside of their control, but this situation feels like it has an added weight of disappointment because of the circumstances surrounding this. I have made it no secret that I don't like Henry Cavill's Superman, but that negativity had really nothing to do with him specifically. Now, I'm not here to bag on Zack Snyder with my next statement. However, he is the reason why Henry Cavill's Superman has failed to take off. Zack Snyder clearly had a long-term vision in mind for the DCEU Superman. If I had to guess, Snyder was probably planning on creating a version of Superman that turns his back on Earth, leading to an evil and more murderous Man of Steel. This is what I think those apocalyptic dream sequences have been about. However, to do that, Snyder decided to strip the character of his more hopeful and bright qualities from the comics. The big blue Boy Scout nickname just doesn't really apply to this version of the hero. So instead, he decided to focus on Superman's more godlike qualities and the world's reaction of fear and anger towards this seemingly invincible man. Now, if you take into account that long-term vision of Snyder's Superman, then you can kind of understand what he was trying to do. However, that version of Superman, the one who was supposed to be feared rather than a source of inspiration, that is kind of what helped kill the character off for me. If the world hates Superman in the movies, then how exactly am I supposed to react as an audience member? Especially when we aren't really shown any reasons to like him as a person. And I haven't even mentioned all of the production issues as well with the character. We've all seen the Justice League mustache debacle, and that's only one example of those issues. But, like I said, none of that is really Cavill's fault. He was handed so much garbage for such a long time, and he just had to make the best of it. So, to have James Gunn fire Henry Cavill as Superman, it feels kind of unfair in my opinion. Obviously, James Gunn has some big plans for the DC universe. He's already decided to change or cancel so many plans involving Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Batman, and now Superman in his short time as the head of DC. It's clear that some kind of overhaul is being planned, and I don't necessarily disagree with him going down that route. Sure, it sucks for people like Henry Cavill who have given so much to this franchise, but I can't really blame James Gunn for wanting to just restart everything from scratch. After all, the DCEU is just so beyond broken at this point that it feels like they keep talking about changing or just completely canceling all of these huge projects every year. So why not finally just scrap the whole universe and restart it with a wildly successful director who almost specializes in superhero movies? James Gunn has at least 5 different successful superhero projects that he's worked on, so it's clear he has the potential to create something that fans love. Not only that, but those projects generally ended up featuring some of the most obscure comic book characters, so he not only has a successful background, but also an in-depth knowledge of these characters. So the man clearly knows his stuff. Sure, I've spent most of this time talking about Henry Cavill, but that's already happened. Henry Cavill's gone, and that kind of sucks. But despite that, I still think that James Gunn is the perfect fit for this role as the head of DC. And not just because of his success and overall comic book knowledge, but also because of that signature James Gunn style that has given him so much success. When looking at his superhero work like Peacemaker and Guardians of the Galaxy, there is a certain cartoony tone that has proven to work well. And if he were to continue with that cartoony and fun style, the DCEU would create a very unique universe when compared to the MCU. In fact, I already made a whole video over a year ago talking about this concept. How, in my opinion, the DC universe would actually benefit from leaning into that more cartoony style that James Gunn has seemingly mastered. But, that style does have its ups and downs. Because while I personally love that cartoony feel in a superhero movie, I will say that James Gunn's style might not work with some of the bigger names in the DC universe. His superhero movies have, so far, been based around more comedic or oddball characters. And while that style does work for people like Peacemaker, it doesn't work well for people like Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman. Sure, I want to see a generally fun and more cartoony universe from DC, especially as a way to counteract the more hyper-realistic world of the MCU. After all, who wants to see 2 competing universes that offer the same exact thing? But I just hope that James Gunn realizes as he continues this new journey in his life that his certain style can make or break certain characters. But overall, am I still excited to see James Gunn lead the DC universe into the future? Yes. Sure, the recasting of Superman sucks. Sure, the restart of a series that so many people have put together might fill some with dread. But I think James Gunn has all the tools to help rebuild and fix this broken universe. He has the knowledge, the successful history, and the creativity to make sure the DCEU can finally get on its feet. Even after all the controversial decisions he's made as the new head of DC Studios, I still have faith that in a few years' time, I will actually be excited once again to see a movie from the DCEU under James Gunn. Thank you all so much for watching this video. What do you think about James Gunn as the new head of DC Studios? And I'm curious, what's your favorite Henry Cavill Superman moment? Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. But until next time, have a good day. Bye-bye.